allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First order of business, the announcement of a board member replacement at an executive session on July 7th. The board interviewed several candidates for, and after several rounds of discussion, the board selected Mike Abb to serve as a director until May 31st, 2021. Thank you. The further action at that executive session, Mary presided, and she will read the results of that executive session.
Allegations of misconduct were brought by a member against Chairperson Brandenburg, alleging violations of Policy 6.02, Section 1.5.a, and Policy 1.10, Section 2.11. The board voted 6 in favor, 0 against, 1 abstained, Director Hover, that the allegations were without merit. At the same meeting, 7 identical allegations of misconduct were brought against Chairperson Brandenburg, alleging violations of Policy 1.10, Section 2.5, and Section 2.8. After lengthy discussions, the board voted 5 in favor, 1 against, Director Fosdick, and 1 abstained, Director Hover, that the allegations were without merit.
Thank you. The next item is the approval of the minutes from the June 25th Board of Directors regular meeting. Can I hear a motion?
Second.
Any discussion on the approval of the minutes? All in favor of approving the minutes?
I have Jerry Hovers.
Yes, I should announce that Sandy has Jerry Hover's stipulated proxy, I believe is the way to say that.
Stipulated, yes.
The next item, July 16, 2020 board work session minutes. I have a motion to approve.
So moved.
Mary?
Second.
David Welch will second. Any discussion on that? All in favor of approving? Unanimous. Next item, Joint Advisory Committee reports.
David, just to remind you, you have to add something to the agenda. We're going to talk about 1.03.
Okay, yeah, we have one addition. It will be after item 16.
Mm-hmm.
Policy 1.03. That's something from the Rules and Regulations Committee that was walked in. So it's not on the agenda, but we'll be voting on that tonight. Okay. The Joint Advisory Committee reports. Tom, do you have those?
The Lakes Committee met. They talked about getting ready for the drawdown over the winter, and how they're already getting ready to have those meetings to make sure that residents on the lake can be ready and get in touch with the contractors. In addition to that, they talked about 4 further changes under consideration to the lakes regulations, and the committee is going to reevaluate those next month, and those would go into effect potentially the 1st of next year. They also talked about special events. They only have one special event, which is the upcoming kids fishing event, which will be at Metfield. They voted to move forward with that special event. And that was about it for the Lakes Committee. The Recreation Committee, they also discussed special events that are coming up. and they voted on those to approve those. They're available in the Recreation Committee minutes. And they also discussed about the upcoming 2021 budget. All the committees were asked to discuss the 2021 budget and to submit their recommendations to management by the end of August. And then golf talked about, had a recap of the WAPT, APT tournament. And Daryl talked about how rounds are up by 7,000 over prior year, so they're having a very strong year. And they also talked about the 2021 budget and getting ready for that.
Thank you. We thank the JACs for their work. Next up would be financial reports. Tom, you're going to...
I'm going to present this. Stacy Higgins put this together, so you're going to see a little bit of a different format. She really wanted to provide the board and the community with a wealth of information, so she really put a lot of time into that. Stacy is our controller. So always a reminder, if you want additional information about our financials, they're available on our website. I encourage you to go view that. Key performance, financial performances for the year to date. So here's gross profit, and we're going to look at the slide on the right-hand side first, or the graph on the right-hand side. In purple is prior year, and you'll notice the impact of the cell tower lease sale. But you'll see how we're actually been trying to keep pace with the budget. We've been short of budget. Looking at the slide, the variances, the slide on the top left, or the little caption, you'll see that we're short of budget by $366,000. Year over year, we're short by $827,000, but keep in mind the sale of the cell tower, which was $1.1 million last year. See that part of the shortfall is green fees and cart fees, which are down by $93,000. And food and beverage, which is down by $157,000. All this being COVID related. The revenue analysis, you'll see that risk overall down by 511, facilities fees down by 55, recreation class fees down by $32,000, and the refunds were tied to the passage of the 2020 plan because some people had paid for their annual memberships in advance. Couple wins we have, boat registrations are well up, $75,000, and RV park membership and storage is up by $14,000. So if you only look at the gross profit, it's been a rough year. But then you get into the expense categories, and you'll see those are all the key categories across the board. So year to date is in green. In orange is the budget, and in gray is prior year. And if you go down the line, you'll see that green is below budget. So we've been doing really well in controlling our expenses across the board, all departments. So below budget accomplishments are in salaries, employee benefits, credit card fees, supplies, maintenance, repairs, membership, training, and travel. So we're really trying to control it, and we've done a very good job on that. So you'll see this slide has a lot of information on it, but the most important thing is on the top left. You see that our EBITDA for the POA, not including water, is better than budget by $677,000. So the team has really adapted well to the challenging environment that we have at hand. Expenses are under budget by $1 million. Do want to point out that when you look at the 2019 expenses and the EBITDA, don't forget that we had to put out the Trafalgar fire, and that was impacting the financials at that time. In the center tile, you'll see the overall, and you'll see that EBITDA, we're better than budget. And we're better than budget by $677,000. See that salaries has contributed $345,000 over prior year. It's $109,000, and employee benefits better than budget by $128,000 and better than prior year, but $101,000. And then we have the graphs on the bottom, and those are, the one on the left is expenses by month. And you'll see that, so let's first look on the left-hand side, and we'll see how the purple line shoots up. That's prior year. That's all the expenses going into paying for the Trafalgar fire. And then you have the 2020 budget line in orange, and then the 2020 actual in green. And you see that all year long we've been tracking below budget. We're controlling our expenses as best as we can. And then the slide to the right, or the tile to the right, you see is by month. And you'll see that we're doing the best we can. So the moral of the story on the POA side is that we are better than budget by $677,000. Stacy finished up this presentation today. Next month we'll make sure we include it in the board packet so you can have a little bit more time to digest this wealth of information. So going on to the water side, don't forget you can see the financials on our website. And here again is the gross profit, and you'll see the green line, which is actual, is we're well over budget and well over prior year. We have the two things. We have a lot more people occupying homes, a lot more homes, and a lot more people staying in homes as a result of COVID. And you see that, so year to date compared to budget, we're up by $716,000. Year over year, we're up by $879,000. Water sales makes up $497,000. New connections. So I talked about additional homes, new connections is $247,000. So on the bottom left tile, you'll see the risks are none. Water sales are up considerably, and what's great is gross profit has improved to 72% compared to 64% over prior year. So we're bringing more down to the bottom line. On the expense side, well, when you're going to have more revenue, you're going to have more in expenses, but we've still been able to control it. So you see that supplies, such as meter purchases, when you have more homes, you have to install new meters. That costs you more, so it would make sense that our supply number would go up. But take a look that our salaries are down, our credit card fees are down, oil, fuel, training, and so forth. So from an EBITDA point of view, the water department is better by $645,000, which is outstanding. This is when I take the quick step back and just remember, or point out that we've had to cut back so much, and many of these things are pay me now or pay me more later. So some of these cutbacks were necessary, but aren't necessarily good things long-term wise. But it clearly shows that the team has reacted very nicely to the change in the environment. You see that expenses are under budget with the exception of an increase attributed to the new water system installation. Also want to point out, so when I missed a point there, I'm sorry, where is it? Where I mentioned the point of the gross profit, part of that is also eliminating leaks. And last year in the budget, we added a person and equipment so we could detect more leaks. So that's helpful in keeping that, improving that number. So you see that the water to POA loan, the balance as of 6/30 was 2.4. And then I'm going to move to the tile on the bottom left. You'll see water expenses by month. You'll see that we've been doing pretty good, even though revenue is well up. And then on the right, you can see the month by month EBITDA, and you'll see that we're the current year we're just having a great year, and they're doing a good job. The consolidated with everything pushed together. Let's start on the bottom. So we already mentioned that water was better than budget by $645,000. Golf maintenance, so Keith and the guys are better than budget by $273,000. But if you talk to a lot of our golfers, they'll say, we know you're better than budget because you've been cutting back on expenses, and we're seeing the quality take a little dip. So that's, you know, we have to react to the challenging environment, but there is trade-offs on that. Recreation is better than budget by 183. Parks better. You go all the way down. IT is better. Member services just a whisker short, 4,000. GM's office is a whisker short by 5,000, and F&B is doing absolutely the best they can, but they're short of budget by $98,000. But as a team, as a whole, we are better than budget by $1.3 million. So, given the challenges that we have, they're really, really doing a good job. Here's our cash reserves. So on the water side, unrestricted amount is $3.3 million. The water side restricted is 520, so we have to restrict the entire payment that we're going to make for the entire year. And then also we have some reserve requirements. That's an additional $675,000. On the POA side, we have the $56,000, and that's directly tied to the promise that we made to the membership when the 2020 plan was approved. So that's where that $56,000 comes from, and you can see the graph. And here is another huge amount of information, and what this is showing you is the huge increase in activity. So I'd like you to look at the third row from the bottom, or the top, either, and it's the year-to-date through June 2020, and you'll see that the number of activity cards issued as of the end of the month was 9,106. That compares to 6,300 from the previous year. Now look at the guest cards, 3,300 compared to 2,300. Boat registrations, 5,400 compared to 4,700. The number of ACHs, so those when members have to sign up. Well, when we went from $24 to $37, everybody that was on ACH and was a homeowner, we had to redo their ACH form. So you'll see that the accounting department has processed 7,000 compared to prior year, they did 2,600. Monetary requirements, when we transfer the sale of a home, usually the real estate office or the title people are going to contact our accounting department to find out how much is owed by a property owner and so forth. You'll see that we've processed so far 2,300 compared to 1,600 last year. And you'll see that collections is also up. So across the board, every department is really doing an outstanding job. Huge increase in activity, yet if anything a decrease in salary. So we're really our team is really doing a fantastic job. But I'm going to go back to the activity cards. I'm going to guess that by the end of July we're going to be over prior year by about 40%. And if you saw any of the speeches I gave, I said maybe 10, maybe 15%, but 40% is just crazy. And they're doing an outstanding job. So that was the extent of my presentation. And like I said, we're going to give you this information. I'll email this out to everybody so you can digest it. There's a lot of information. But Stacy really wanted to consolidate the information in a very user-friendly format. First time you've seen it, we'll provide it to you in advance in your board packet next month.
Well, kudos to Stacy. That was a really well graphically laid out presentation. I think it's easily digestible, and I could read it from a distance from over here too. So that kudos to her editing skills to make things that we could actually decipher it. So just pass that on for us.
And some of the graphs, some of the things that we thought about being more visual and so forth, goes back to a conversation that I had with Jerry's wife about 2 or 3 months ago. If she thinks that I forgot what she said, you got it there. Okay. So that's the extent of the financial presentation. Feel free to go on to our website to get more information. David, you had your hand up.
Just a quick comment there. When we were talking about the fact that we've cut back on some of the golf maintenance costs, and you'd heard a few comments by golfers that said the golf courses really maybe aren't in as good a shape as they haven't been in years past. I played with several different golfers and groups here. I haven't heard anything bad this year. The golf courses are in great shape. I've played all of them, and the guys are doing a great job. So, you know, you're always going to have a few people that are going to complain about something. The greens are too slow, the greens are too fast, whatever. But I haven't heard anything bad from the guys that I play with.
Well, I think our team is probably the harshest critics. They're the harshest critics on themselves.
Well, we have a great leader in that team. Keith is one of the best directors of maintenance superintendents in the country, period. I've known him for years, and he's, like you say, he would like to see it better, but it's doing okay.
Sandy?
I just had a couple of questions, Tom, that somebody had asked me. I know that we didn't hire as many seasonal employees this year because of COVID-19 and cutting budgets and whatnot. But have we laid off a number of employees? Do you know how many employees? I know food and beverage, clearly we didn't need as many employees this year.
Earlier this year, when we were right in the middle of COVID, right at the beginning, we laid off 60 people. Majority of those people were in F&B, but there were some people in other departments, and we brought the vast majority of those people back. What we've been doing is, you referenced the seasonal people, and we talked about golf course maintenance. They're running with fewer people because we just did not hire those people. And while we're doing better now financially, those seasonal people, by the time we got them on, and a lot of these kids are college kids and so forth, it's too late. So we have to go through the entire season without them. So the majority of the people that we laid off have been brought back because the restaurants are open, and we're prior to the closure of BV Bar and Grill, we were at almost 75% of normal, which is really quite impressive given the challenges that we're having, and definitely impressive when you talk to some of the other restaurateurs in the area. Okay. Did I answer your question?
Yes, you did. Thank you. And the other question that someone asked me was, of the number of activity cards that have been sold, can you tell us how many were to improved property owners and how many were to unimproved property owners?
I don't have that information yet. Right now, Carmen and the member services team is so busy. I have not asked Carmen to provide me with a lot of reports because they're taking care of so many customers. Once we start slowing down as we move into the off season, we will absolutely, I want to know how many new ones we got, how many new ones we got improved, unimproved, how many additional family ones we issued. You know, I want to see all that information and share that with the board and the community. But right now, we have the customer in front of us has to be taken care of as opposed to a report.
Okay, thank you.
But it's all very valid questions.
I love that we are doing more with less. That is phenomenal. I am concerned that we're going to reach a point of diminishing returns. And I mean, we need to watch out for that.
I agree. I see where we're cutting back. I see it, when we're not maintaining the buildings the way they need to be maintained. Those are the things that concern me, and I've referenced the pay me now or pay me more later. I believe in that. It does. It costs you a lot more. If you keep on putting Band-Aids on things, it's not good. So we're looking at, we're in this quandary right now. How much longer does COVID keep on going on and impacting our business, but we're doing better than budget, so can we loosen up a little bit here and there? And we're trying to make intelligent decisions as to where we can loosen up a little bit. For example, our capital budget for this year was extremely thin. And we're looking at, but we cut back, even though it was thin, we cut back some of those projects, and we're looking at re-adding those back before the end of the year because we got to get those things done. But there's a lot of things that, it's already too late. When the golf course doesn't look quite as good because we're down in the number of seasonal help, not much I can do at this point.
Well, I was talking as well as the capital environment about the payroll environment. That, I mean, that's a tough one to know when you've gone too far.
Yeah, when you push it too far and the wheels start coming off the cart, that's, you know, and I got to compliment. I mean, I got to compliment the whole team, but in particular, member services is just doing an outstanding job. And but I get concerned because they look really ragged, because they're also down staff because they had some staff members that because of COVID are not able to work, and we can have some of them work at home, but not all of them, because you can't print membership cards, activity cards at home. So we can have some things done at home, but not much. But, you know, we're learning to adjust. You know, the governor's ruling, you know, Monday we rolled out a whole new thing. You know, we've had to be able to pivot very quickly because the directives change, and we have to pivot very quickly and make those changes. And I got to compliment our membership, because as a whole they're cooperating. We can get a couple people that don't want to cooperate with masks, but as a whole the membership is cooperating. We really appreciate that. Anything else?
Okay, at this time, it's time for the open forum. None of those in attendance signed up to speak. We do have two that were sent in.
Yep. And why don't you check and see if anybody came in late?
This one was sent to Kim Carlson, Director of Marketing. Hello. I would like this letter read at the Bella Vista POA meeting scheduled to be held July 23rd, 2020 at 6 p.m. during the open forum comments portion of that meeting. Due to compromised health conditions, neither of us are able to attend the meeting in person. We feel enough is enough, and the POA, along with the city, have certainly agreed to enough bike trails, tunnels, etc. in our area. Future plans for additional trails, tunnels, etc. need to be put on hold. We need to find ways to make money and start realizing that along the way somewhere we have to save money. 2020 has been a quite unusual year to that we all have to agree. And when a person thinks about the fact that we have a 36-mile greenway to Fayetteville along with all the current trails, we have this hold, should be common sense to all of us. Our restaurants are in the tank once again, and has the POA even paid the water department back yet for the money they borrowed? Let us all hunker down, get on with some plans that will make us money. Even the golf courses are not above water yet, either once again. Thank you for letting us speak our piece. Larry Cook, Gene Struble on Stonehaven Drive.
Mr. Parsons would like to speak and some time.
Okay, at this time, Mr. Parsons, would you come into the boardroom? Mr. Parsons?
I'm Jim Parsons, and I'm chairman of the Bella Vista Patriots. And I did send a letter to the board because we feel like the water shutoff policy really gives those of us who live here in Bella Vista a bad name. It just seems like that if you make your car payment, you get to drive your car. If you make your mortgage payment, you get to live in your home. And if you pay your water bill, you should get water. And I think right now with this pandemic on, people need to wash their hands. And to have anything go to the state health department that we might shut the water off on someone, that might spark a pandemic for the family. It's a bad policy. It gives Bella Vista a bad name, and the Patriots are asking you to rescind and abolish that policy, because I think it hurts all of us and makes us look bad in Bella Vista. Thank you.
Thank you. Another member, Tommy Freitag.
Talking through these masks, can you understand anything, I wonder?
Oh, yeah.
And did you ask me a question or what? No.
No, I was asking Mr. Freitag to come in.
Tommy Freitag, 25 Pomona Drive. I'm here this evening to address the board on behalf of some friends and my neighbors in regards to the board replacement of a member that may have resigned or possibly had to be let go for unknown reasons. We feel like that the board should not have the power to appoint an individual that we all voted on under the board membership thing. We spend $40,000 roughly for an outsider to count our votes, and then when it gets down to that we need to replace someone, 5 or 6 of the board members speaks for all of us members, and I don't think that's right, and the people that I've talked to don't think it's right either. If we have 6 or 5 or 12 people running for the board, I think what we should be doing is asking the individual that finished in 4th place, if we're replacing 3, that if that person wants to serve, and if he don't want to serve, then ask the next person if they want to serve. But we don't need to have 5 or 6 people making that decision for the members. If that's true, then if we're going to do that, we shouldn't even have an election for board members. We should just let the board decide who wants to be on the board. The members' voices should be heard. The other thing that I'd like to bring up this evening on another avenue is in the water department. I don't know if the board members realize it or not, but we lose about 500 gallons of water out of every 1,000 gallons we purchase. This has been going on for a long period of time, and I've been keeping records on it. And over the past 20 years, we have lost $18 million in water. Now, we pay members, you and I, twice the amount on our water bill on an average month that Bentonville, Rogers, or Springdale pays. If you use 7,500 gallons of water a month, which many of us do, you pay 3 times as much as what a member in Bentonville, Rogers, or Springdale pays for water. Our water is extremely high. If we could cut our loss by 50%, we should be able to get a reduction in our water bills. $18 million over 20 years is a lot of money. Yes, they have lost too, but their losses run somewhere around 20%. Of every gallon they buy, 10 gallons, they lose 2 gallons.
Thank you, Tommy.
Thank you.
If there are no other members wishing to speak, Tom, do you have any comments on those?
Yeah, a couple things. Regarding policy, well, first of all, regarding water shutoffs, earlier in the year when COVID hit initially, both our water department and our on the POA side, the assessment side, we've been really working with people, our property owners. Our goal is never to shut off the water, never. We're working with these people. We're putting them on payment plans. That's our goal, and that's what we do. Policy 3.09 was originally enacted in March of 2011. Some additional changes were made to it in March of 2017. I feel the policy, the way the board put it together way back in 11 and modified it in 17 makes sense. But I want to go back to, we have an accounting staff that is compassionate about our membership and works with them, puts them on payment plans, and does so in an appropriate manner, being a business, but also being a human being at the same time. And I think that's important. Regarding the board replacement, the board selected the replacement in accordance with our policies. I think that's most important that they follow them to a T. Regarding our water department, we do have losses. Many water departments have losses when we have over 600 miles of water line. We recently referenced this earlier, where we hired a leak detection expert and they also leak detection equipment to try and reduce that. And with the improvement in our meter system, we feel that over time we're going to be able to bring that number down. But when you have 600 miles of piping, you're going to have leaks. Also, I am going to respectfully disagree that comparing us to Rogers and Springdale, we're a rural water district. We're not a urban water district. The other two are urban water districts. If you look at the number of customers per mile, we have our Rogers, Bentonville, Springdale, they have 3 or 4 times the number of customers per mile than we do. We have to go long stretches in between customers. So when we do comparison on how much we charge, we compare ourselves to rural water districts, and we line up very, very nicely with them, meaning we're too high, we're not too low, we're right in the middle. But if you compare us to an urban, we're going to be different, but they have far fewer miles than we do, and a lot more customers per mile. That was it.
Thank you. I believe I've also heard it said that the city of Little Rock has fewer miles of water line than we do.
Correct.
And they're not quite in the hills like we are. So
this is
we
correct.
have challenging terrain. Okay, the next item on the agenda is a board vote concerning eminent domain for the land that we leased to the city to construct the fire training center, and they have since discovered that they cannot build on leased land, so they are planning to take the land by eminent domain, which is not a problem because we already leased it to them. Yeah. But Tom, you have any more to add to that?
Yes, and it's on page 91 of your board packet. The city has state law trumps our declaration. So state law dictates that they can use eminent domain to seize the land. So then we really have a choice. We can do we're going to call it a friendly eminent domain or an adversarial eminent domain. A friendly eminent domain is, well, they went out and got a valid appraisal of the land, and they appraised it at $110,000, which is about a little less than $11,000 per acre. And that's what they would pay the POA for that. An adversarial is that we would go to court and fight against it and delay. They're still going to get control of the land because of eminent domain and interest of the community's interest. The challenge is we're going to spend 6 months in court. We're going to have to pay for the attorney. They're going to get the property anyways. And the judge has unilateral decision-making authority, and they can go, hey, I think 110 is too high. I'm going to lower that, and the POA could get less. So it just does not make sense. And from a community point of view, it makes complete sense to have this training center. it will lower every resident's ISO rating, which may, Mary told me to make sure I use the word may, because it won't, not every insurance company will lower your rates, but some of them will. But you definitely have the potential of lowering it. So the community as a whole, it makes sense. This is common property, but it is unused common property. The homes that are in that area, there's very few, and they will still be bordered by common property, because that land is in the middle, and then it has common property around it. So we're not going to be, the fire training center is not going to be right next to it. And that was it.
Tom, I have one question on the fire training tower. At 4 stories, will this be the largest building in Bella Vista?
It will probably will be. I think they have some standards that they have to live to. They have to, so it, you know, you'd think that it would potentially be shorter since we have shorter buildings in Bella Vista, but I think they have to.
It seems a bit overkill, because I know the one in Pea Ridge, or I'm trying to think of the one that's nearby over here. It's made out of shipping containers and some other stuff that one of these groups trains on. It may be Benton County. You know, it's not nearly as big. That'd be my only objection, is I think it should be 3 stories and not be 4 stories, and be more aligned with the size of the rest of the properties around here. But that's my only thing. That may save them some money too. It does look a bit overkill to me. But, you know, and we're not here to talk about their structure. We're here to talk about their property. But, you know, I'm all for being safer around here, so I think it's a good partnership with the city, and if we can get a little money back from it, it's good in these times. So.
If I had advance notice, I could have asked Chief Sims, but I can't answer it. You know, I would have to guess that maybe it's some sort of requirement that it has to be constructed in a certain manner.
The photograph is 3 stories.
I think it's a sample.
Is that not it?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, this does say proposed training.
I think one of the issues when I was visiting with Chief Sims is that they have to have enough height so that they can train to actually transcend into, because of our steep terrain. So like if a biker falls, they have to practice being able to
Rappel
go up and down. Yeah,
Well, that makes no sense.
that was one of the issues anyway.
Yeah, they want to be ready for whatever they might run into. So training is how they do it. So anyway, we need a motion to say what, Doug? To say,
Oh, on page 91, we gave you, no, we didn't give you.
no.
You didn't.
Boy.
Entertain a motion to agree to the, not opposed to the eminent domain.
I motion to not oppose the eminent domain.
I'll second that.
Okay, is that sufficient, Doug? Yep. That's sufficient.
For the property at Chelsea and Tudor.
Yeah, add that.
I motion to not impede the eminent domain, and to agree to the transfer to the city for the property at
Chelsea and Tudor.
Chelsea and Tudor Lane.
I reiterate my second.
Good. Is there any more discussion? Okay, we'll vote on that. All in favor?
I don't think we have a choice.
It's unanimous. Next item is nominations for the Recreation Joint Advisory Committee, Scotty Smith, for an initial 3-year term. We have a motion.
So moved.
David? Jerry Barron seconds. Is any further discussion on this? All in favor of this man? Unanimous? What did I say?
You said man, but
In
it's,
favor of this
I believe
man.
it's a
You meant to say
a
member.
woman.
You meant to say member.
Yeah, just say member.
Okay. I'm in favor of Scotty Smith. Is
There
that
you
what I
go.
need to say?
That works for me.
Yeah,
Okay.
we don't know really. do
So the next time I have to say member
Haven't met
again.
him yet.
Okay.
Her,
The
whatever.
next member.
Is it really a her?
Denise Klinger for an initial 3-year
Where was
term.
I?
Is there someone to make that?
So moved.
That's moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor of Denise Klinger? Unanimous?
I like those anonymous
Next
votes.
item. Emergency capital items for the water department. We talked this over in the work session. Getting back to that safety issue and being prepared and pay me now and pay me later. It's time to pay later because a couple of trailers have outlived their life and they're starting to cause safety concerns. So we have consideration of 2 trailers and I believe a truck with a dump bed on it. The water department is so busy that they're falling behind with their obligations to fill and level street cuts, and when they have to dig in a member's yard to try to put that back the way it was. So they're looking for a truck and a couple of employees to try to keep up with their obligations to our membership. So, is there a motion on this one?
We're asking for a total of $91,000 for $21,000 for each of the trailers that need to be replaced and $49,000 for the vehicle. And to reiterate, we want to continue, our water department wants to continue to provide the high level of service that they currently do, but with the addition of so many additional services, and also in detecting all the water leaks, then that creates more work because we then have to repair those water leaks and then repair the yards and so forth. So we are falling behind and not getting these items done as rapidly as we would like. And at this point, I don't think there's going to be any slowdown in construction and definitely no slowdown in water leak. So we really feel that this is required in order to for them to be efficient. So we're asking, and all this money would come out of the water side, and I'll remind the board that we're better than budget by $644,000 on the water side.
Okay, so can I have a motion to approve the purchase of the 2 trailers and 1 truck?
I motion that we approve the emergency capital spend for the water department for a total of $91,000.
That's Tia, second?
Second.
David Welchel. Any further discussion on this?
You do
We'll
what
vote
you gotta
then, all
do.
in favor of approval?
You do what you got to do.
Unanimous.
The next item, do you mind if I jump in?
No, go right ahead.
Next item is with the departure of Dwayne Mitchell, and we thank him for his many years of service. We still are required by state law to have a treasurer. Stacy Higgins is our controller. I'm sorry, the state law requires us to have a treasurer. Stacy is our controller. We are asking the board to vote to approve her to be our treasurer. She will remain as the controller. We don't plan on replacing the CFO position. A company of our size, we feel that we can adequately get the job done with a controller or a CFO, we feel that this makes sense. But we do need to have a treasurer, so we ask that the board vote on this at this time.
I move that we appoint Stacy Higgins as treasurer.
Thank you.
That's second. Any further discussion? All in favor of approval? Unanimous?
Similar to that, last month we did a resolution which placed David on our checking account and removed Ruth. And we're asking the board to pass another resolution, Resolution 2020-02, and this will place Stacy on our bank account and remove Dwayne from the bank account.
there a motion to,
So moved.
David Welchel, second? Mary? All in favor of that move? Unanimous? Next item up is policy 1.07. You should have rules and regs met at 4:30 this afternoon. Changed a little bit of wording.
You mind if I jump in?
Go right ahead.
They changed two, we've talked about this a little bit, and we discussed this at the work session. So this is the walk-in memo that we just walked it in earlier today. So that, like David said, the Rules and Regulations Committee met at 4:30 today. And you have a clean copy and a red line copy. I call it a red line, but some of it's in blue. But an edit, one that shows the edit marks. I direct you to, under open forum, which is section V, item number 2, you'll see if you look down about halfway through, and we replaced, instead of having the letters verbally read in real time, a little bit of awkward wording, we were requesting that you replace that with read aloud, much clearer. And also, we added item 7 at the bottom, recording of meetings.
Item 6.
And this would, sorry?
It's 7 is recording here.
You're correct.
Yeah, it's 7. Recording of meetings. And we added that passage regarding the recording of meetings. So if you want to take a moment or two to read through that.
You missed item 1.
Item 1, no, we kept that as shall.
Kept it as shall.
So it went from shall to may and back to shall, and so
Okay.
that was not a change.
Okay.
And if the board votes on this, just a reminder that it requires 2 votes, this vote, and then next month the board would vote on it again before it goes into effect.
Okay.
What about 1.03?
Well, David decided
We'll do
to
that
cover that
second.
one first. This
We'll do this one
We're
first.
going to do that today.
Yeah.
Okay.
And David did send this information out to the board a few days ago. He did not send it on behalf of the Rules and Regulation Committee because they had not yet looked at it, but he did send it out to the board so they could consider it. It's a little bit odd having the Rules and Regs Committee meeting the same day, but as opposed to delaying this an entire month, they felt it was best to move it forward at this time.
Does any of the board members have any questions, discussion?
I have a problem with adding the number 7 part because there have been times in the past when the recordings that we've received, the audio was not very good, and it was certainly good to have a second copy of it. There have been times in the past where part of the meetings were not taped, and there were times when certain meetings weren't taped. So while I understand your concern about some video being used in an inappropriate manner, I think we're kidding ourselves if we think that someone can't take something off of the copy that you're going to provide. And someone could take a picture of one of us out in public and do something inappropriate with it. So I'm not sure that we're accomplishing what you think we're accomplishing. There was one video that was placed on one of the Facebook sites, and that actually came from a POA site and altered. So unless you're copywriting all of this material, I'm not quite sure. And I've gone to meetings and I've videotaped something for my own use with my phone. I videotaped the election results because I wanted a copy of it. So now you're telling me that I can't do that or I'm violating a policy? So I am against this.
Sandy, can you give me a specific example of when the meeting that was not recorded properly, was used improperly, or there was a gap in it that was not appropriate for what we were trying to accomplish?
I cannot give you an exact date, no. Because I didn't write it down.
I don't think that happened. At one point, what was it, a couple of years ago, we had some bad video equipment here, and we were totally accused of being not transparent. We were not trying to hide anything there. We had some bad video equipment. It didn't happen. I think other people can verify that with me. And we weren't trying to hide anything. And that's where you're going with this, and I don't like that.
I didn't say that we were hiding anything. I'm just saying that it's good to have a backup.
I don't think we need that, because right now we have the most high-tech stuff out here, and if somebody doesn't like what we're presenting, too bad.
And David, jump in.
We're not saying that we're only going to allow one entity to record. We're saying that anybody who records must have the express approval of the POA or express permission of the POA.
And to clarify, so David, I can't remember, it may have been 2, if not 3 years ago, the television station's a piece of equipment broke. Nobody was aware of it. And when we found that out, the POA donated $3,000 or $4,000 to the TV station to replace that equipment, and we haven't had a situation since then. The POA did take heat for that one, but it was not our equipment that broke, but we did take a step forward to fix it and make sure it wouldn't happen again.
My point is that if somebody wants to use the content of these meetings for whatever purpose, and we can't stop them from that, they should use the feed that we give them, not something that they record, unless we give them specific permission to do that. For my part, if somebody wants to record me and they use it in a form on another format somewhere else, Facebook, Twitter, I don't care where, but if they use that in a disparaging way toward me, they will find a lawsuit on their doorstep the next day. Is that fair? Would you like somebody to present you in a manner other than what you want to be presented?
I said that I'm not condoning that type of behavior.
Thank you.
I said that
Thank you.
originally when I made my point.
Thank you.
And any other members care to speak?
I do. Even in the R&R meeting right before this, I still have a slight issue with it because I do think that members should be allowed to use their phones to record, anybody that wants to record. I just don't know that we have a big enough problem for a reason to actually have to solve for it right now. Everything else in 1.07 I'm absolutely on board with. My personal opinion is I just don't know that we need this section right now.
I'll tune in support of it. I think we're only at this step because we've been forced into this step, and we would not be discussing this if we didn't have an example base that brought it to our doorstep. So that we don't need it, that we haven't seen a problem, it wouldn't be here unless we had seen a problem and we needed it. So I don't agree. You know, we wouldn't be discussing this if it wasn't an issue.
Okay, seeing no more hands being raised, we will vote on the changes to 1.07. All those in favor of the changes? 7 against? Sandy and Jerry Hover. The other one that's a companion to it is 1.03. It involves association committees. The change is exactly the same. Meetings open to the membership will be streamed on social media in real time by the association, plus an unedited copy of the recording will be made available on the association's website. No other individual, group, or entity will be allowed to record or stream these meetings without the express written permission of the association.
Hey, David. I'm sorry to interrupt, but can we go back to 1.07? I don't think there was a motion made. So we need a motion and then a second and a revote, if you would, please.
I make a motion to approve the changes to 1.07, requiring approval be given for outside recording of meetings. Approval be given by the POA.
The changes are more extensive than that.
More extensive.
How about the approval to changes as presented?
Changes as presented. Okay. I motion to accept the changes as presented for 1.07 in regards to recording.
Mary seconds. Okay, now we can vote because we have a motion. Forget all that stuff that went before. All those in favor, please raise your hand. 7 against. Sandy and Jerry.
Thank you.
Over. You're welcome. Okay, 1.03, it's the same restriction on recording. Do I have a motion to amend 1.03 as presented?
I'll make a motion to approve that as presented.
Thank you, David. Jerry Barron seconds. The same argument here.
Same discussion.
We ready to vote? Yes. Okay, let's vote. All in favor of the change? Opposed to the change? Sandy, abstain?
I am voting against, and Jerry indicated that if there was anything that was not already on the agenda, that I was to abstain from.
Okay. Understood. Okay,
It's appropriate.
one abstention, Jerry Holver. Next item, the Scottsdale Bridge project.
Mind if I jump in?
Sure.
Okay. On page 109, you'll see that we're working on the Scottsdale Bridge repair. We hired Craft and Tull Engineering to administer and manage the project for us. Craft and Tull contacted 6 companies to seek their interest in this in bidding on the project. They also advertised in the newspaper for 2 weeks seeking bids. In addition to that, Keith Eames contacted a 7th firm and asked them to submit a bid. In spite of all these efforts, only one company bid. Fortunately, Craft and Tull has worked with this firm previously and feels very comfortable that they can do the job. Additionally, the bid came in $8,000 under budget, so I'm pleased about that. I think this is just a reflection, once again, we've talked about this before in other projects, of the amount of construction that is going on all over Northwest Arkansas. A $100,000 job you would think would be a big job, but it is a very small job for these companies. And this is pretty specialized work. So what we're asking the board is to waive the 3-bid requirement for this project. We did our best to try and get it multiple bids, and we were unsuccessful.
I move that we waive the 3-bid requirement for the Scottsdale Bridge project, as a total of 7 firms were contacted and only one opted to bid.
I'll second.
Is there any further discussion?
Yeah, I'll throw something in here just for my 2 cents worth. The last couple of projects that I put out to bid, Tom, were well over $1 million apiece. And we like to have 3 or 4 firms bid them. And we only got 2 firms on either one of those to bid it.
Wow.
Unfortunately, in our case, they weren't under budget like this one was. They were both over what I had estimated the project would cost. But it's not abnormal in this climate and golf course work, especially with COVID right now. It's kind of weird. Of course, Northwest Arkansas, we all know how much construction is going on here regardless of COVID. So I think Keith and Craft & Tull have done a great job here.
They have confidence that Craft & Tull has confidence this company can do what they say they can do.
Yep, they've worked with them before.
And we're just hoping they get it done real quick, because I'm getting tired of driving across the fairway over to number 8 and around to number 2 green or whatever.
You
Completely
are not
agree.
alone.
Completely agree with that.
Not a golfer out there who likes doing that. Okay, all those in favor of waiving? It's unanimous. Is there any other new business?
I've got one question going all the way back to the fire eminent domain. I'm getting asked questions about what's to stop that from happening on Burksdale.
Doug, you're the lawyer. You jump in on this one.
They would have to have a stated purpose for that, and then they would have to there would have to be an appraisal, and they'd have to, fairly compensate the POA for taking any property, whether it's Burksdale or anything else. It has to be a fair evaluation of the property. But, to answer your question, there's nothing that would stop them from exercising eminent domain as long as they fulfill those requirements that are in the statute.
If it was wouldn't they have to have like a necessary reason for wanting the
Yes.
land? It's not like I want to put in a Walmart.
No, no. Or
Okay.
I want to turn it into commercial development. No.
Okay.
It needs to have some benefit to a public interest.
Correct.
Yeah.
And this goes way back to when we entered into the lease with them. I was working with Chief Sims, and we sat with a map and we scoured all over, because it has to be in that general area, because we have limited coverage in that south central area. So we scoured all over the place, and so that spot is really the only spot that works. And so when you talk about a necessary need, which the city would have to have prove that, they can prove it in this case, because we couldn't find anywhere else to put this.
In relation to Burksdale South, are there not still conditions on the deed from Cooper?
There's a deed restriction on that land, and it requires it to be used for recreational purposes.
Okay.
Good point.
I'd like to see
Okay.
the appraisal, though, on that land, though.
Yeah. Have
Don't
it.
go there. The announcements. The Board of Directors GM meeting Thursday, August 13th at 4:30 p.m. in the boardroom right here at the Country Club. This is the closed meeting. The Board of Directors work session open to the membership Thursday, August 20th at 9 a.m. in the boardroom right here at the Country Club. The next monthly regular Board of Directors session is Thursday, August 27th at 6 p.m. in the boardroom right here at the Country Club. And that should bring this meeting to a close. Thank you very much.
Thank you, David.